deserve to be ninth.
Tim Cindric, thanks for your time. And Mike, first car out on the track here in the Firestone Fast 6. It's fan favorite. It's Tony Kanaan for KV Racing Technology.
So TK rolls out, and the green and fluorescent yellow Geico-sponsored entry driving for KV Racing Technology. And Mark, well, I tell you, KV came so close to putting not one but two cars in the Firestone Fast 6 as EJ Vizo wound up 7th in round number 2 and just missed out on 2 of the KV cars making a run for the pole.
Revisiting that conversation with Tim Cindric, ordinarily, maybe having one less set of tires would be an issue, but let's face it, Mike, they haven't had the full complement of track time leading up to this qualifying season.
Very true, yeah.
So perhaps that tire scenario shouldn't play out. That observation passed along by our network director Wally Levin. It's a rare moment of lucidity by our network director Wally Levin.
Well, those are the guys on pit lane that are paid to make the decisions, and they have the strategy mapped out, and they know what the goal is, they know what they want to accomplish, they know what the time frame is they want to accomplish it in. And so far be it from us to question that strategy. We're simply stating the fact that when you have 4 or 5 minutes of open track time at the beginning of the session, the track is not going to change during that 10-minute session. And if it's simply a case of thinking that you're going to have to wait and see what another team posts, then maybe I can understand that. But when you've got a guy, for example, like Will Power, who is the ace of qualifiers, and he has 17 poles to his credit, why not, Mark, go ahead and send him out there in the first minute, let him put that number up there early on the top of the board and sit back to his final 3 or 4 minutes and say, take me out if you can. And particularly when you're talking about the second round, when all you're trying to do is get to the Firestone Fast 6. So clock is running. We're at 6.5 minutes. 6.5 minutes remaining here in the Firestone Fast 6. Simon Pagenaud just misses out on making his way to his second straight Fast 6 session. He will start 10th of RJ Query.
Yeah, but a week ago, the one thing we learned with Simon Pagenaud, it really didn't matter where you started. You made up all those spots when you had to move back 10 spots because of the engine change. Obviously, really good run for you in St. Petersburg. Your thoughts on the difference between last week and this week?
I think we got a pretty good run this week as well. We made some changes just between Q1 and Q2. And for the warm-up lap, the car was my expectation really raised during that lap, and I think the Fast 6 was definitely possible. It is a shame, but it is racing, and as you said, we're going to work our way through, and we're going to try to put it on a good show.
The other thing Simon Pagenaud had last week, before Mike, good strategy. Remember, they were the first ones to come in and pit and have it at the right time, and that's part of racing. But Simon Pagenaud obviously knows how to bend that wheel.
He can pass cars here. Let's not forget that Simon Pagenaud came in a fill-in role here last year, Mark. Started 23rd and finished 8th. And when you pass 15 cars at Barber, you've got A, good race car, and B, a pretty good driver behind the wheel. So Simon Pagenaud, I don't think he's sweating it at all.
He passed the cars last week at St. Petersburg to get himself in a good finishing position. So right now that team appears to be clicking on all cylinders, and they're very happy with Simon Pagenaud and the efforts that he's put forth so far this season.
Well, we've already seen a track record lap laid down in qualifying by Will Power. The question is, what will happen here in Firestone Fast 6? Tony Kanaan putting down his P1 in a minute 11.903. Once again, keep in mind that the start-finish line does not represent the end of the timing and scoring loop for qualifying. It comes just up the other side of turn 13. That way you can complete a lap, get out of gas, and get the pit in. And that's the reason that the timing loop is where it is during the session. So a lap actually starts and ends around the turn 13 area in the carousel here on the west end of the track. TK at a minute 11.903 as we got 4.5 minutes remaining here in the Firestone Fast 6. Will Elio Castroneves find his way to pole? Will it perhaps be Scott Dixon or Tony Kanaan, drivers that have been accustomed in the past to being on the inside of the front row, or will it be one of 3 drivers perhaps we could see on pole for the first time in the ISI IndyCar Series? Martin Hardy, Mike Conway, James Hitchcock, and J.R. Norway, and one will wind up on pole here.
Mike Conway's speed has popped up on the timing and scoring chart. He is at a minute 12.7329. P1 Elio Castroneves at a 10.5843. Tony Kanaan at a minute 11.3740. Still waiting for Dixon, Hinchman, and Hildebrand to pass that time and scoring loop for the first time.
I want to remind you, you can hear live coverage from Firestone Indy Lights Score on your IndyCar.com. Mark Jensen and his crew will come your way just after 11 o'clock Mississippi time, so just after noon this great race, the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama, race number 2 on the ISON IndyCar Series schedule. Tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock once again. You'll be able to join us here on IndyCar Radio on the IMS network, on XM94 Sirius 212, IndyCar.com. IndyCar Mobile on Verizon Wireless as well. Hope you're going to be with us. Elio Castroneves has gone to P1 in a minute 10.584. James Hinchcliffe is next, followed by J.R. Hildebrand, Tony Kanaan, Scott Dixon, and Mike Conway. Once again, a minute 10.584. Mark right now, the differential is about 300 of a second between Elio and Hitch.
And Mike Conway has jumped up to P3 now, so it's Elio, Hinchcliffe, Conway, Hildebrand, Kanaan, and Scott Dixon with 2.5 minutes remaining in this session.
Keep your eye on J.R. Hildebrand to see if he can Charlotte's Web, the 5-6 combination, and keep in mind that his lap will be scored in turn 13 out of the start-finish line. Running behind him is Tony Kanaan right now in turn number 5. That bright green and progressive yellow Geico sponsored machine. Here is the 14 of Mike Conway as he enters Charlotte's Web. Behind him is the blue and white AAA Insurance Team Penske entry of Elio Castroneves, who won here in 2010. So Firestone Pass 6 now, 2 minutes remaining for these drivers on track right now. They're all trying to catch Elio Castroneves. There's your 2-time ISON IndyCar Series champion, the red and white Target Chip Ganassi racing machine. That is the 9 car of Scott Dixon making his way off of turn number 6. Elio's quick lap is a little bit quicker, a minute 10.477 mark, so Elio lowers the bar a bit.
Dixon rolls into the 3rd spot right now. Logan Conway to 4th, Hildebrand to 5th, and Tony Kanaan is P6. A minute 40 left in the session. Elio Castroneves, a minute 10.4768. Then Hitch, then Dixie, Conway, Hildebrand, and Tony Kanaan.
So the differentials, we've watched Mike Conway pass in front of us, and now there is Elio Castroneves, very likely beginning rather running what might be their final laps. They should have an opportunity to get to the line and perhaps within one last flyer, given where they are and what we've got last time-wise. There's the 14, there is the 9. Everyone on reds, it looks like, at this point, and that is anticipated. Elio Castroneves looking for pole after the win last week at St. Petersburg. He is off of turn number 6. We're under 1 minute remaining here at the Firestone Fast 6.
Looks like Tony Kanaan has rolled onto pit road, and maybe TK realizing, not much of an opportunity to get to P1, but Tony Kanaan is going to do no worse than 6th, Mike, and that's a great starting position for TK. We see him rolling onto pit road, too.
Yep, here comes James Hinchcliffe in the GoDaddy.com car. Right now, Hitch is set to start on the outside of the front row, so Hitch right now set to start on the outside of the front row, and all things remain the same. Elio Castroneves, who picked up his 26th career win just a week ago in St. Petersburg. Well, we're going to find him on the pole here for tomorrow's Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama. It looks like that could be the case. Mike Conway has returned to pit lane. Elio, just for safe measure, Mark, it looks like he's going to stay out for one more lap as he heads through the roller coaster of 1, 2, and 3.
How about what could be a front row start for James Hinchcliffe? Been climbing out of that number 27 GoDaddy.com machine on pit road, and a couple pats on the back from his crew. Scott Dixon 3rd, Mike Conway 4th, J.R. Hildebrand 5th, and Tony Kanaan 6th.
Okay, Scott Dixon is on his final flyer. Elio Castroneves, the same is true. Dixon have anything for Elio Castroneves on this final lap. Dixon is going to need to find Mark somewhere in the neighborhood of 5/10, make it 5/100 of a second, because Dixon right now sits 3rd at a minute 10.5291. Castroneves at a minute 10.4768, and it looks like Dixon has spun the car, and that will end the lap, and that should end the session, and it looks like Elio Castroneves will follow up last weekend's win at St. Pete, Mark, with a pole position here at Barber Motorsports.
How lucky was he that spin happened when and where it did and did not bring out the red?
Yep. Yeah, you're right. He's right here in Charlotte's Web. In turn number 5, the checkered flag had already come out, so he will not lose any lap time. So Scott Dixon, here's the replay for those of you here on the grounds, and there it is as he was driving it hard through 5, and the rear end just stepped out on him, and he comes to a stop. So Scott Dixon comes up just short. Elio Castroneves will be on pole with Chevy Power, representing Team Penske on the outside of the front row. Chevy Power as well. James Hinchcliffe, driving for Andretti Autosport, his best career ISON IndyCar Series start. Scott Dixon and Mike Conway will go off in row number 2. J.R. Hildebrand and Tony Kanaan set to start in row number 3. Let's go back to pit lane.
Yeah.